Week 6, winners, losers, right now on FFT Express. What's up, everybody? Dave, Richard, Heath Cummings. We just watched all of the 1 o'clock games from Week 6. We've got some winners. We've got some losers. I think the first winner came out of the London game, Heath. Caleb Williams was crazy good, 5 touchdowns. What do you think of him moving forward? Must-start fantasy quarterback?
He's a must roster fantasy quarterback through his bye, which we didn't know. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we thought there was no chance that he was. Last week, we thought maybe he would be. This week, he was absolutely awesome. 4 touchdown passes against Jacksonville, ran the ball more than he has all year, 56 yards rushing, really spread the ball around. Great connection with Cole Kmet. Keenan Allen scored 2 touchdowns, really did this without DJ Moore having a very good day at all. I don't think you can call him a must-start quarterback because Jacksonville is just that bad. But it was really a great day for Caleb Williams and most of the rookie quarterbacks. Drake May completely brought the Patriots pass game alive. Bo Nix continues to score fantasy points in a hilarious manner. Jaden Daniels is Jaden Daniels. The rookie quarterbacks are awesome.
Yeah, it just makes the position deeper. Of course, say that to the people who had Dak Prescott, and we will get to Dak Prescott. But I've got the schedule grid right in front of me. Here's what he's got after the bye. At Washington, this is Caleb Williams. At Washington, at Arizona, New England, and then Green Bay. I don't know if that Green Bay matchup will be tough or not, but that's a really good slate in the short term for Caleb Williams, and I just thought he looked really, really comfortable. Heath, nobody was more excited about Trey McBride this preseason than you. Did you love what you saw today?
I mean, I'm glad that he scored 17 fantasy points. That's great. The Arizona offense looks awful, and Marvin Harrison got concussed, and they scored 13 points. So I think it's great that we still see that McBride can have these types of games. The target share really 25% in this game. I had him projected at 26% coming into the game. Not really a big jump in terms of opportunity. It's just that he did a better job in this game of turning targets into fantasy points, even without scoring a touchdown still. I feel very confident in Trey McBride as a top 3 fantasy tight end rest of season. It's quite possible if he happens to score, I don't know, a touchdown or 2, that he'll be the number 1 tight end in fantasy rest of season. But it was good to see him turn the opportunities he's been getting for most of the season into fantasy points.
The Bucs offense continues to roll, Heath. We saw Baker Mayfield with another big game, a little sloppy, 3 interceptions, 2 of them I think you could put on him. And the numbers were great. I think Baker continues to be a top 10 type of fantasy quarterback. We know that he's got, let me see, I've got the schedule right here. I'm sorry to keep everybody waiting. Everybody wants to know. It's Baltimore next week. That'll be a challenging game, but it could also be a very fun game. I still think Baker is one of those quarterbacks you could acquire cheaply in trade if you're kind of scrounging a quarterback. Chris Godwin, monster game, huge yards after the catch on his touchdown. And then you've got the running backs there. We saw Bucky Irving score. We saw Sean Tucker score twice. All of a sudden, Tampa Bay is rich in running backs. We will talk about that on the main show. Let's get to some losers, and I'll start with Dak Prescott. Went up against the Lions. I thought this was supposed to be an easy matchup for Dak Prescott going up against Detroit. And really what happened is the game got one-sided very quickly. Dak had to throw a bunch of turnovers, really just not a great game from anybody in that offense. CeeDee Lamb came through with some decent numbers. Tolbert really wasn't that great and ended up being a blowout. And Dak Prescott really did not look that good. Just looking at my schedule grid, who does he play next week? Nobody. It's a bye. Heath, do you hold Dak Prescott through the bye, knowing after the bye he's at San Francisco?
I think it really probably not, but it also depends on your league. If your league is the type of league where everybody's rostering 2 quarterbacks and there's nobody really good on the waiver wire right now, then maybe you do. But in the type of league where Daniel Jones was available to be picked up this week and where you can generally find a top 15 to 18 guy on the waiver wire, then Dak certainly belongs in that category. There's something not right with Dak Prescott and with CeeDee Lamb and with that relationship right now. But well, okay, I'm not saying they're angry at each other. I'm saying they are not on the same page. CeeDee is not running the routes that Dak thinks he's going to more than once in a game. And that shouldn't really happen with guys that have as much experience as that duo does. But my point in saying that was they're both all pro, all world type talents. They have a bye week to figure it out. I kind of think they probably will.
I just don't know how good I'll feel starting them when they come back from the bye against the 49ers, but we shall see. Let's talk about these Jaguars running backs, because what a mess. Like, the whole Jacksonville offense was basically a huge mess against Chicago. And Chicago, their defense, we know that they're good, but they really weren't great against the run. But they look like world beaters against Jacksonville. Then again, everybody kind of looks that way. Dearness Johnson led the way in terms of snaps played. He played 69% of the snaps. Bigsby, 28% of the snaps. What happened to ETN? He hurt himself, barely played after the first quarter, 2 snaps over the last 3 quarters of the game. We don't know what his status will be next week when they go up against the Patriots. This should be another matchup where they should do well running the football, but who knows if they will, and who knows who it'll be. So I'll ask this question, Heath. Do you feel comfortable starting any Jaguars, period?
Well, I mean, Evan Ingram just scored 20 fantasy points in his return, caught all 10 of his targets, and he plays tight end, so I'm going to start him.
And and Brian Thomas too.
I hope that I'll probably go back to Brian Thomas. It would be great if I had 2 options that were better. We probably shouldn't rank him as a top 20 wide receiver again, but no, it's I don't think you can feel good about any Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I tend to agree. If we know for sure that ETN isn't going to play next week, I kind of want to lean into Bigsby because of the matchup against the Patriots, but I don't know how you can do it. And bye week replacement, yeah, maybe for one of the Lions running backs. If you've got one of them, we know they're not playing next week, so maybe there's a possibility that they could be bye week replacements for them. Heath, 3 receivers, all duds: Amari Cooper, Darnell Mooney, Calvin Ridley. Let's play a game. Start, bench, cut for week number 6.
I'm nowhere prepared to play that game.
Okay.
No idea how I'm going to rank them, but I'll just make something up. It would probably be Mooney start, Cooper bench, Ridley cut. Snowman in terms of targets, which is great. 8 targets on just 27 pass attempts in this game for Calvin Ridley. He scored 0 points on those 8 targets. I take that back. He had 0.9. He had a 9-yard rush. Did not catch one of them. Will Levis, they have to go to Mason Rudolph. Will Levis looked terrible in this game despite the fantastic matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. Mooney was really frustrating, but the opportunities also were still there. Everybody in the offense besides him scored in this game. He had at least 1 pass in the end zone go off of his hands. That's not been a problem that he's had all year long. So I'm not going to be as down on Mooney. Plus, he's been really good, unlike Amari Cooper, who's been an absolute disaster all season long. Dropped a pass on the first drive of the game. Deshaun Watson didn't matter. They played the team with the worst pass rush in the NFL, according to Adam Azer, and they got their tackles back, and it didn't matter. They couldn't block. I'll bench Cooper, but I'd rather just get rid of him.
Do you kind of want to hang on to Cooper just in case Jameis gets under center, or in case he gets traded? Because that could also happen with Amari Cooper.
Yeah, maybe. He's still going to have to catch the ball. It's not all Deshaun Watson's fault.
But I'm with you. And here are the matchups for next week. And this is why Mooney is still a good start. He plays Seattle next week at home. So I like him as the start of the 3. Not saying that he's a must-start receiver. Amari Cooper's got Cincinnati at home, maybe. And then Calvin Ridley, I don't think it even matters that he's playing at Buffalo. Just the quarterback sitch just isn't really that good. And poor Calvin Ridley's just not going to be able to get it done. If you like what you heard, cool. We're done here. Our Fantasy Football Today podcast, live Sundays, every Sunday, right between 7:45 and 8 p.m. Eastern time. Join us live, ask questions. And in fact, join us live and ask questions all the time. If you subscribe to the channel, Fantasy Football Today, right here on YouTube, then you're on your way to just getting us in your ears or eyes or whatever, not your nose, but everywhere else in your face, pretty much every day of the week. And if you're listening, thank you for listening. Continue to download and tell your friends who you don't play in fantasy with. For Heath, I'm Dave. Thanks.